I think this is the black hole. I think this is something that, we talk about, keep your eye on the ball and this and that and track the ball. And yet we don't talk about the specific strategies, and we don't have a good preparation protocol where we get the right kind of reps that are going to enhance our ability to do this. And you can do everything right. You can have the greatest swing in the world. If you've got a bad visual strategy or bad visual skills, I'm not talking about the hardware necessarily, because the hardware is correctable, but this is more of a software program.
Yeah, vision, hardware, and software. Yeah, we're dealing with the software end of this now. So, this basically is what we're talking about as pitch recognition. This is this occlusion thing. We're just showing you, it's obviously an older clip. We've got Miller there on Cleveland when that slider was just wipeout. And how often can you see this before your eyes start saying, you know what? That ball out of the hand that looks like it's headed at my noggin is coming to my knees. If you're a left-handed hitter standing in there trying to face that front door slider, how much does it take for your eyes to learn that and believe it? Because partly with protective thing, your eyes pay special attention when the one's coming toward your noggin. So you really have to stand in there and see, no, that's at my knees. So, here's a clip that I pulled off of Major League Network, and Carlos Pena really kind of lays out exactly what we mean by pitch recognition. Not the same as plate discipline, but what the actual thing going on in pitch recognition is.
Look, there's two variables, all right? We're connecting dots here, right? We gather information on the first 10 feet after the pitcher releases the baseball, and then we connect dots. We say, okay, this pitch is going to be somewhere around here at this time, right? Based on the information I gather in the first 10 feet.
And I know, Jerry, sometimes there'll be disagreement on the 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet, whatever that is. But what I really like about what Carlos is saying here, and this is a diagram from Harvey Dorfman's mental side of baseball, is the notion of connecting the dots. That's really what we're trying to do. What do you see out of the hand? And you can see the whole tunneling concept here, right? Because there's the one out of hand, and then there's the one out of hand that is going to be the ball to strike chaser. So we've got this kind of classic combination. You're going to take the strike and then swing at the, and then swing at the off speed. Take the strike and swing at the off speed. And so fortunately, most of us aren't dealing with anybody quite this nasty. You might have to deal with them a couple of times a year, Jerry, but.
Well, I think we're seeing it more than we would like to see it as hitters. I think the power of on the pitching side of baseball, things are happening. They're speeding hitters up dramatically.
So, the question is, what can we pick up from that windup, that window that we always talk about, the window and that ball coming out of there, and can we really train our eyes to pick that up? And that's what we're doing with this video occlusion technology. It's simple in concept. It's been around, as people will note, for 40, 50 years. The idea is you're seeing a batter's view and it's cut off. And you have to predict what type of pitch it is. Here, the prediction was fastball, strike, fastball, ball. You see the replay, and you always want to see the replay because that's where you're connecting the dots. So, just like you coaches do with your hitters, you're sitting fastball, strike. Here's a fastball, strike, pound it. There's not much more you have to do with that one. But when you get fooled, we want to see, oh, there's the cutter. The scouting report is this guy's a fastball cutter slider guy. So here's the cutter. So we got to see the replay there, make sure we're connecting the dots right. Ouch. Now, this is the University of Missouri. And what I really like about this, they're just training off the computer here, but it's right in their facility. I mean, these guys are training here and then they're walking in there. So here's that same cutter slider guy, okay? And so you're seeing the cutoff pitch, and then he's hitting plyo balls off the wall. And you're going to connect the dots because you're going to see the pitch. He's supposed to be just hitting fastballs. That's his thing, just hit fastballs. So he lets this one go, breaking ball, good decision. So far he's made 2 good decisions. And he's just taking his regular swing look. So he's because of the plyo balls, he can tell if he's making good contact or not. I mean, watch this one. This is like my favorite clip. Okay, because his contact was not so good, and he kind of makes a little thing, but they can't. The next one's coming, and he makes a great decision on this. And this actually, I think, is that same cutter we saw earlier. That's a great take. Jerry, what do you know? What do you think of that?
I would say that this is the gold standard drill, because not only are you working on your visual strategy, but you're working on your rhythm and timing, and this is extremely game-like. Other than the ball is on a tee, which is probably not game-like, but there's a lot of elements that come into play on this drill, not just the pitch recognition, but because even recognizing the pitch doesn't put you on time, and now you have a measure if you are on time or not, so you can adapt your load and unload.
What coach hasn't done the numbers and the colors on the balls, right?
Well, you know, the one thing that, and you talked about, it's been around for a long time, and we've had this conversation. I'll give it to you quickly. There was a guy in Los Angeles in the 50s at Biola University, Charlie Sarber, and he was a Korean veteran, and and he was a fighter pilot, and they used to train them with this thing called a tachistoscope, and they'd show shadows of planes, so you're not shooting your own planes down. And I'm sure Ted Williams, oh, there you go. Ted Williams went through the same thing, and really it was just a slide projector, and they'd project the shadow up there. And so he did it with release points and skinny wrists and fat wrists for pitch identification. And this was 70 years ago, and I'm sure Ted Williams went through that as well as being a fighter pilot as well.
Did you ever encounter this 150-mile-per-hour tennis ball cannon business? That's Beltran there. He insisted when he went from the Astros over to the Mets as a player, he insisted they buy one of these for him.
Yeah, we had it with the Brewers. The guy, I want to say the guy's name was Bauman, and really all you did is you identified the numbers, and you kind of held your bat out there and just tried to tick the ball, the tennis ball. But there are guys that felt that really slowed the game down for them. The big separator in the pro game is the decision making, the pitch recognition, swinging at pitches that you can hit. I'm not even just saying strikes, because that would eliminate a guy like Hunter Pence or Vladdy Guerrero, and take balls. And I think what we're seeing, especially with two strikes, we're swinging at 40%. The pitches that we swing at are out of the strike zone. And so there's room for improvement at every level. But just the heightened awareness of the importance of having a visual strategy and being good at it and being consistent will pay dividends. And I think a lot of times people feel like, well, they become too selective, and and it's a keyhole. No, it's not. The guys, the better hitters are the guys that have the bigger strike zone, that can cover more of the strike zone, because then there's fewer safe havens for that pitcher. And sometimes you have to learn, expand your ability to cover more area of the strike zone by swinging at pitches that you can't hit now, but in the future you learn to hit. And I think that's one of the takeaways with a guy like Hunter Pence, that early on in his career, that those Houston guys didn't say, hey, no, you can't swing at that pitch, and eventually, if you're smart, you learn what you can hit and what you can't hit, but you'll never know what you can't hit until you swing at it and find out that you can or can't hit it. We want to coach caution out of our players, not caution into our players. And if we're always in, hey, you can't do this and you can't do that, and don't do this and don't do that, that they become very, very tentative. And there's no selective aggressiveness is really an important linkage, those two words. And so you just need to be careful that you don't end up with fear of failure type players, because they're so concerned about making a mistake. Thing with two strikes, I think that we're seeing somewhat of a sea change relative to philosophy on two strikes. I think people, when we look at batting average on balls in play being over 300, and the high percentages of strikeouts in the big leagues today, over 23%. And I think that what we've normally done is we've expanded our strike zone with two strikes, and it's kind of like the umpire strike zone plus. And then what we're seeing is the high chase rate with two strikes being over 40%, and the low percentage of balls being thrown in the strike zone. Overall, it's under 50%. And I think that there's a sea change philosophically, that we expand our strike zone with less than two strikes, and we shrink our strike zone with two strikes, just the polar opposite of what we've been thinking in the past. But it's just food for thought relative to what really is happening with two strikes in our game.
Well, and I really like that you bring that up, because when we're talking about pitch recognition, we aren't necessarily saying the old school two-strike philosophy or Jerry's new school two-strike philosophy. We're saying whatever philosophy you're working there has to be built on the visual skills of connecting the dots. How can you enact this approach or the strategy that Jerry is describing unless you can connect the dots? So that really is the underlying thing. If you've got that foundation of connecting the dots, now you can take an organizational emphasis like you're talking about there.
I think that the real separator is a recognizing pitches, good visual strategy, having a plan, and that plan, is kind of a threefold plan. It's you have a scouting report before the game. You're watching the pitcher early on for a tell, and then you're also watching the game for tendencies. Hey, this guy hasn't thrown a breaking ball for a strike yet. Why am I looking for polar bears in Florida when I'm not going to get a breaking ball here? And then you couple it with a good visual strategy and a skill developed by reps on this occlusion game speed, game like rep, and man, you got the total package and everything's in place to maximize whatever you've got in terms of ability.
Yeah, let me share with you this comment here from Cody Atkinson here.
Our number one priority is to build a visual database for our guys as early in their careers as we can and build up visual confidence. Just confidence that what they're seeing, looking ahead of pitch, is correct. And I think you have to go through realizing that what you're seeing isn't correct, right? You have to go through seeing something and being wrong to get there. And so we're trying to advocate as much of our time with our guys on vision, because it becomes the most important thing. If you can't see, you can't hit. There's no way. And if you're not on time, you can't hit either. So I don't think it sounds very sexy, but vision and timing is our top priority.
I want to get us to where we hear these coaches talking and we're picking out some of those things he was saying. Like did you hear how he said getting ahead of the ball, their eyes ahead of the ball? We're working on the vision on that. Well, to me, that's connecting. He could just as well have said connecting the dots. He's just saying it a different way, just like you say to your hitters, different things to get them to do what you want them to do. Getting their eyes ahead of the ball and the part of getting it wrong. You've got to get it wrong and get it corrected. This is dog training. This is behavioral training, which works off of three things: massive repetition, immediate feedback, and progressive difficulty. So we've got people out there, Jerry, who are doing, they're doing this technology, they're doing some other thing, or they're making some homemade occlusion videos. And I'll show people how to do that on the internet. That's a great thing to get into doing. But when you're training, like in the visual weight room, you want to make sure you've got those three things: lots of repetitions, immediate feedback, and progressive difficulty, or else you're not really training to that point where you describe getting into the box and there's all those kind of things going on, those situational things going on. This part better not be going on. This part better be 7 times 6 = 42. Not 7 times 6 is, that should not even be part. You mentioned about 6 things, and this piece shouldn't even be one of those 6 because it's just baked in.
I mean, we all remember as little leaguers, probably we've heard way too often, hey, you got to watch the ball, keep your eyes right there. And I mean, we've always understood the importance of it. We've just never really walked the walk with it like we're doing today. And tremendous heightened awareness with hitters today, looking at videos and seeing release points and practicing tracking with decision making. Maybe this is the time we show that little drill with the mule bat. And I got this from the SEMO guys and from you. And this is a little mule bat, and it's a small bat, and it's got a dome on the top with a nut in the dome. And we often tell guys, hey, go down there and track in the bullpen, and we figure that's going to, that's great. Tracking is really good when you don't have to make a decision. And I mean, how many times have you given your hitters a take and they give you that stinky eye because, oh man, I really saw that pitch good. And sure, they saw it good because their mind was clear. You know, it was they were in the library read mode because they didn't have to make a decision. So now the hitter, not only is he tracking the pitch, but he's also reacting to a no swing mode, because I think you're always in the hit mode. Every pitch is a strike. I stop on balls, and so now what happens? He knows that when that device clicks at the point of the optimum contact point, he knows that he's on time. And I think this also has value for the pitcher, because what happens is if he doesn't know what's coming and the hitter's on time to all his pitches in terms of speed and movement, then that pitcher knows something is not right relative to possibly something that he's doing that is alerting that hitter.
Well, and I'll refer partly to Coach Lee's question on that, which is, what are the no tech approaches, and the way that you turn it into an occlusion pitch recognition drill is with one simple thing, but you got to stay on guys to execute it. And they start out by saying, yes, fastball, not worrying about whether it's a ball or strike, and no, not a fastball. They have to say it before it hits the catcher's mitt. And it's just as important that they say no. They can't say, oh, I didn't say anything. That's the same as saying no. No, that's just the same. That's just being frozen. You say yes or you say no. The reason I like yes or no, some people will say hit or something like that, but I like yes or no because then you as the coach can change what yes is. And you can change what it is. You can say, okay, Jerry, you're doing pretty good at this. Today, yes equals fastball strike. Or you can say, yes is your pitch that you would go to in an advantage count. So you can change what yes means. It's not just always hit. You're making that judgment in it. And if you have the little mule bat, that's great, or any kind of little cut down bat, that's great, but I would make them earn it. I would make them doing the calling out yes. And guys, then you let them come out and you say, okay, we're going to do that stand-in drill we usually do, but today you get to, instead of, if you mean yes, swing.
There's a lot of opportunities to be creative with that little drill. And what we did sometimes, we had a programmable pitching machine, and we'd put a screen up at different distances from the release point, and we program in breaking balls for strikes and balls and fastballs for strikes and balls, and then so that it's a form of occlusion, and then they would swing or not swing, and we'd say, well, that pitch actually was way up in the zone, or it was a breaking ball in the dirt. So there's a lot of room for creativity there, and also, again, it reinforces the process of having a strategy and being really good at reading balls out of hand, earlier the better, and things like that. So there's no limits to what you can do.
All right. And I'll share this one drill here. I've got a video of it, Jerry, and I know that you've worked on this drill too. Actually, there's a lot of people have their fingers in this drill for whatever reason. Jeff Albert of the Cardinals had a lot to do with that too. In the net occlusion drill, the batter has a teammate, usually another batter, acting as a pitcher. It could actually be a parent or a coach or whoever. And that person then is helping him work on a particular read, not just all pitches, but a particular read. In this case, he's working on the high fastball curveball combo. So the white line on the screen represents a release point, such that a fastball coming out below the line is a hit and pitch. A fastball, though, over the line is the high hard one you lay off.
Yes.
Meanwhile, the curveball that is below the line is in the dirt and a take, and the curveball that comes out above the line is likely to come down in the hitting zone. So you don't want your eyes to let you give up on that pitch too soon.
No. Yes.
I mean, this is so low tech and it's so easy that every program, you get a PVC pipe and you're set, you're ready to go. And again, it involves more than the decision making. It involves the rhythm and timing and load and unload and so on. So,
Well, and some people would say, boy, that's putting a lot into that hitter's mind, and that's going to cause confusion on their swing. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of what games are like, right? So sometimes the research in this area is saying, you need the context, you need to make it, you need it more competition like, but that doesn't necessarily mean you need stands with crowds in them, or, these other type of things. It means go ahead and put some confusion into that. And now in a practice setting, you're practicing overcoming the confusion. What I would love to add to a drill like that, or any kind of like just even a simple front toss, if you've got the bat sensor, or if you're using one of those coach radar, pocket radar type of things, say, okay, take your best 3 swings off of that tee, just hitting the ball, or just what's coming. If it's a front toss, now we're going to confuse it. Now we're going to give you a cue where you got to not swing. But what our ultimate goal here is that when you're in the confusion state, your average bat speed is the same or getting close to your average bat speed when you know exactly what's coming.
I think another thing with a drill like that, I'm not a big tee guy, but a short overhand front toss, and when the pitcher releases the ball, it's a fastball, and when he doesn't release the ball, you have a tee on the outside part of the plate, and you kind of sink into your legs and ride it out, because you have to make in-flight ball adjustments, and that's like an off-speed pitch elevated away, and so now they're adapting to 2 pitches, one that they're a little out of rhythm to hit, and instead of jumping out on that front foot and falling all over your place, you kind of retain your balance and ride it out a little bit and still be in a position to hit that ball hard. So I think that also can be a part of this type of drill environment.
Do you have your clip where you're doing the L screen thing? You're sitting behind.
I do.
You're sitting with the overhand.
I do.
Yeah. Don't worry about if it plays perfectly. Just give us a second or two of that, and
yeah, you
we'll
bet.
get the idea.
These are little accelerate balls, and I'm 15 feet away, and one is lighter than the other, and it's also a different color. And basically what we're looking at is trajectory, and this is 2 ball hit the fastball. So we're taking the breaking ball, and we're hitting the loop on the one, and then we can go hit the breaking ball and take the fastball. But this is more or less trajectory recognition, but also sitting on a particular speed and a particular pitch, which I think hitters would not admit to doing, but really they're doing a lot more than they really think they're doing. But this is kind of a reactionary drill, and they're little accelerate balls. I got this from Perry Husband, who's, everybody knows Perry, brilliant guy. But I think that this has some value.
Yeah, and the one that I like about that is it's like, okay, is it a pitch recognition drill? Well, maybe not. You're giving them some cues. You're giving them the arch. Maybe you give them a skinny wrist if you're giving them that breaking ball. It's really an adjustability. So it's a swing adjustability drill. And the earlier you recognize that, and your body fires the script, right? It can't be something you got to be thinking about. You're doing that work right then. So that hitter has the script for that breaking ball on the outside part that you're able to control from out there. And you're watching his hitting and giving him those instructions, right?
Absolutely. But, hitting is adapting and adjusting. And we've all seen Jeter chicken wing and cut inside of balls in that he's not on time to, that he'll cut the other way. And we can make adjustments on the edges, in a ballistics event like the swing. We can't slow it down or speed it up necessarily once we start our swing, but we can adapt in and out. You've seen a lot of guys almost throw their bat at a breaking ball away with 2 strikes, and they can work up and down a little bit by sinking into their legs. So there is mid-flight, there are swing adjustments that are being made, and because it's a cat and mouse guessing game, and we swing at what we see. Sometimes we're not 100% on reading pitches out of the hand by a long shot, and so now we have to have that adaptability and adjustability in our swing.